Life can bring us down, but turn it around. Life can bring us down, but turn it around.
Hello, and welcome to the Apostate Coalition YouTube channel, your place for news, stories, resources, and general apostate shenanigans. How is everybody doing today?
Fantastic.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
So,
Pretty good.
I think we lost another. Let's go. Let's try that again. There we go. Hello.
There we go.
Wunderbar.
Welcome back.
Yeah, we're back.
So, I'm Jonathan, aka Ex-Witness Awake. You may know me from some of my stuff, but let's do the introduction. So, over to you.
Hello, I'm Ryan, former Jehovah's Witness, now full-blown blasphemer. Good to see you.
What's up? I'm MJ. I am former Jehovah's Witness, 7 months woken up, and I am a enemy of God, I guess.
He's a baby. You're just a little baby who woke up.
Oh, yeah.
Those
Learned a
chubby
lot.
cheeks. You're just a little enemy.
So,
Like
so
those
you
cheeks.
definitely are an enemy. You definitely are an enemy of God.
oh,
then.
man,
if you're,
I'm the
if you're
worst.
a baby, you're the worst.
Stephen Lett just cannot stand
Coming
me.
after you, buddy. Gang, gang.
I might bring my brightness down. I think my face is extremely shiny. Looks like I'm sweating.
Why you sweating there? Huh?
It's
Bro,
that
it's
new
just-
bile. It's that
it's-
nubile newborn skin. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I looked at Joe
You're
and
welcome,
Fran's screen for a second there, and I just saw Fran, and then I saw Joe coming up in the mirror. I was like, "What is going on?"
We got a mirror
Tricks,
behind us.
Tricks.
Yeah, the man in the mirror.
There it is.
Oh, now it's just a Joe show. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. You want us to
Okay, we got dead air. Let's talk.
Kenzie's next.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I was letting someone else go.
Oh well, I don't know. However, you would go.
Yeah, it's
Whichever
all
Uh,
right.
direction.
Was this a
I'm
meeting
an
for field
ex-witness.
service?
What'd you say?
Someone said this was a meeting for field service?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a meeting for unfield service.
Unfield, for unwitnessed.
Yes, unservice.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. We're just
Okay.
trying to introduce ourselves first, I think.
Yes.
Right.
Tell us
Okay.
all about yourself, Kenzie.
I've been out 2.5, 3 years. I got 3 young kids, and so I usually just make TikToks whenever I can, and then join you guys whenever I can.
TikTok's the way to go.
Mr. Osborne.
I'm Nash Osborne. I haven't been on with you guys before. We're Greg and I do XJW Live, but we've been too busy with work to do any shows in a long time. And I've been out for 7.5 years.
Congratulations.
Right.
And well, we always appreciate some new blood here, so glad to have you.
Mhm.
He's a vet. We got to learn from him.
Yeah.
No, not a vet. Just actually, I was looking at the chat and I was like, "What is this link for StreamYard?" So I clicked on it and I was like, "Oh, I guess we're doing a thing."
We're
Welcome
doing a
aboard.
thing. Sometimes we do a thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we
too.
do a thing. That's true. And then Joe and Fran, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. This is how we introduce ourselves.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh wow, is that like one of your cards or leaflets?
They're postcards.
Oh, it's like a little. Okay, like a postcard side.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we hand them out to everyone. I've mailed them out to schools, guidance counselors, social workers.
Everyone that
Yeah.
comes into the shop.
Ryan has
That's
one of these.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I should actually be wearing mine. Speaking
So
of
instead
which.
of our jw.org for service, we're going to do our XJW.
Awesome. Somewhere
I
I've
have
got
flyers like
I
that,
have
but
it
they're in
proudly
Spanish.
displayed.
Espanol.
Espanol.
Here,
I only
Franz.
have it.
We're doing show and tell today.
I have the
Okay.
standard
So
That's
I-
upside down.
I've got my little. I don't know if you can see it very well, but
Yeah, the little
In their work, yeah.
got a
Oh,
little
Stephen
Stephen Lett there.
Oh boy.
What's
So
that
beware
one
of
about?
joining Jehovah's Witnesses, and then I mean this is a little older because I've got this one. This is based off the ones that I found off of Reddit.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then of course, old
You want to read that out loud, like
Anthony
the
Morris. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses, the world's largest doomsday cult.
How can we learn from that and use it in the ministry?
That's right. So the idea,
Yeah,
this
that's true.
if anybody hasn't figured it out so far, is that this is just a little story time and a little basically what have you got that we can use to help people break free or to at least warn people, methods, resources, just like the congregation would meet together for service and they're going to talk about what's our talking point for today, like what's the blurb we're going to use from the Watchtower. Well, this is what we're doing. So, and just like they would, we have our coffee because they're going to go out for about a half an hour and then they're going to stop at Dunkin' Donuts or
Gotta
Tim
have-
Hortons or
You
whatever.
gotta have your break, Jonathan. Come on. You
That's
gotta
right.
Have your 15 to an hour minute break, depending.
And then you
There's always
leave
that
some.
one hardcore person that was like, "We're skipping break today." And you're like, "Oh my god, are you kidding?"
But there
What
were
is
always
wrong with you?
those. There were certain people in the congregation who would encourage that.
Yeah,
That I remember there were times we'd go out and they wouldn't want to stop. They wouldn't want to go out of their bounds out of their territory area to have to go to a particular. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you got kids, they're hungry.
Right now.
What's that?
Right.
I go get coffee. Like,
That was the best.
And then there would be those who would take that time out who wouldn't they'd be like, oh, well, we stopped for half hour. So I only actually did an
Stop.
hour and I
yeah,
only did an
What?
hour of field
Can't do
service.
that to me.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
They'd be like,
just
"Oh, man,
hardcore. Like it's
like
on the clock.
40 minutes off my time now," and I'd be like, "Yeah, me too. I'm definitely gonna do that."
Not.
You can't impose your own conscience on another brother.
Exactly.
That's a rule,
No
Exactly.
stumbling.
That was not
I would've
possible.
been in a coffee shop right now if I wasn't out in service. I'm still out in service. We're making a witness by being there.
True. Because
Yeah.
I think people do recognize when the JWs are out. Well, or at least church people are out.
I know them when I see them.
Yeah. It's just the way they're dressed, the way that they carry themselves. I think there's just tells.
Our car group was the best part.
I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Something's
Next.
Wait a minute. I was trying to do the spotlight thing, but it wasn't working. So I'm like, okay.
Oh,
never mind.
Jonathan, when you do the spotlight, all you have
Yeah.
to do is click and drag the person who you want to be in the spotlight. So it'll
Oh,
usually
okay.
pull up one person and then you can click and you should be able to click and drag.
So not me.
decent.
Oh,
Oh, okay, perfect.
hi.
There we go. Okay, so when
Now you
anybody
got
has
it.
something to say, I'm gonna make sure that we can see what's going on.
Oh, look, see? Put that
It's
up
all
again,
about
Joe.
it's all about you. Perfect.
That's
So-
right. That's
did
what
you
I
guys-
used.
The
Go
little
ahead.
business
use-
cards.
Say again.
Did you guys write those little business cards? Like, what's the
Yeah.
topics that you put on them?
Well, there you go.
Can you read it?
Let's
Now you
see.
can.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we had these printed. And
That's
they're
really
Can I
good.
read that? Do you mind if I read that out loud? Or if you
well,
want to?
why don't you have Fran? Fran can read. It's easier for her.
Can you? Yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank
Yeah.
you, Fran.
Here, I'm going to show it. And I can read one.
That's
I'll
so
try to
smart.
hold it.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
all right, so-
actually so smart.
Okay, so it's a postcard size. Okay, so it takes a postcard stamp, which is, I think, 53 cents. I don't know.
Blank on the back
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
Beware of Jehovah's Witnesses. Why are massive numbers of Jehovah's Witnesses leaving the Watchtower religion? child sexual abuse, court cases, Jehovah's Witnesses sentenced, ongoing investigations, and congregations subpoenaed. Shunning practice by members destroys families and individuals, proven to be damaging. High rates of depression and suicides among members and families. As ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we offer information and needed support. We respect your privacy. Please contact us, Joe and Fran Garino. Our email address, jandfgarino@gmail.com.
Straight to the point. I like that.
That's excellent.
Postcard
Yeah.
stamp, our return address. We send them out, well, we give them out in person because we have a business here.
We go to the same places where the carts are set up. And we
Smart.
we contact the people
Do you?
around the carts. See, the cart
That's
friends there will just stand right at the cart. But we
It's
go
hardcore.
right up to the people and engage them and talk to
Yeah.
them.
Don't
awesome.
approach.
This is the theocratic warfare I'm up for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was okay. I'm still learning this whole highlight thing. I think that's an important point, though, that you mentioned at the end, that we're there to support people. Because the idea is a lot of people think that the apostates are a bunch of evil
I'm ready.
sinners that are,
Right.
I'm ready.
you know.
I'm ready to send a letter, an invitation letter to the elders and the friends in our congregation or wherever we know, and invite them to do the same thing we're doing.
Mm.
We have meetups here every other Thursday, and we've had 8 meetups so far, and I think we've had the most was 14 people, and every time we get new people,
That's nice. It's great.
and they even advertised it. We were able to advertise it on the local radio.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Oh, wow.
No, we've had
You guys
about 2 or 3 interviews so far with him.
yeah,
And he's
Wow.
the WIBX radio, which you can get on YouTube, WIBX Bill Keeler. He's very favorable to what's going on, and he's concerned. At one point, he said, he mentioned something about a documentary. So there's interest there.
and he interviewed us the day after the protest. We were in our hotel room, and we did it right from our hotel room. He interviewed us, wanted to know how it went. So he's keeping
Wow.
up with.
Yeah. No, they're concerned. They are concerned.
That's great to hear.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what we
point-
need. We need
The
interest.
point is that the witnesses have kept such a secretive life, even though they go door to door and everybody knows them as the nuisance at the door. They still have been successful in being very secretive about all the details and the damage that they're doing to the very people that's right around them. And so our job is to bring them up to speed and public awareness.
Yeah. You guys are amazing.
Gotta be
Right.
done.
Ah, dang it.
Well,
I gotta stop doing that for the one sentence things.
Right. And it's like what Jonathan
Kenzie, you
was
should have
saying.
just kept going. You were supposed to just keep giving compliments, Kenzie, so we could keep you
Yeah.
up there on the.
I was going, but then my husband walked in the room.
Wow.
So I was like, I should mute in case he starts talking. But
Mom,
Awesome.
I think it's really special how you guys like just put your personal number out and things like that. Like the actual support goes a really long way for people. When I connect with people that are like on their way out or they're questioning and they reach out to me personally, and like I've done FaceTimes with them, or phone calls or whatever with people that really, really need this help. Like there's not a lot of other places for people to go and talk to somebody. And you guys are really putting yourselves out there for like just so many people to help, and it's so amazing to watch.
Mhm.
We
Agreed.
had one person, we put a sign out in front because, like I said, we have a business here. We have one of those changeable signs. So one time we said XJW and PMO meetup. We gave the time and everything. And this one fella called us and he said, I'm an XJW and I've never met another XJW. And he's been out for 20 years. He was
Wow.
6 miles away from us. It's kind of shy.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
And
Awesome.
so he wasn't able to come to the meetup because he has to work, but we invited him over. We spoke with him, and He had tears in his eyes. He was so emotional. He says, "I've never met another XJW, and
It
it's so
means-
good
yeah.
that you're doing the support
It,
for
it, it,
everyone."
it's well received. It really means a lot when someone's connected to, and that's why the buttons I think are so helpful too, is because it helps someone identify who another one who's like them. Otherwise, they feel incredibly alone, very alone.
Yeah, I like the fact how you guys at the very bottom you put we are ex Jehovah's Witnesses, because you're not just a random schmo
Right.
talking bad about a religion. You were
Yeah.
a part of it,
Mhm.
so you know the ins and outs. You know the dark, deep secrets, and that's very important, especially you guys as parents who care about your children and know that there are a lot of people who are parents in the religion that care about their children and all the child sexual abuse that happens. I'm a parent. I know what it's like. I'm scared. Still scared. I got my entire mom side of the family, in-laws side of the family, who try to invite my kids to the congregation, to the Kingdom Hall,
Jeez.
and it's stressful.
Yeah.
You know,
Extremely stressful.
MJ, I've got to fit into this one. The point was brought up that we don't want to do anything that fits in to the persecution narrative for the witnesses.
Yeah.
Rather the opposite. If we're to quote unquote wake them up, what we want to do is, and this is kind of trite, but be the ones that provide the coffee, the smell of coffee, you know, the bacon smell, the toast in the morning, you know, that gets a person want to get up and want to come awake.
Yeah.
That's what we have to be careful to do.
I kind
Definitely.
of feel like lately I've been thinking the first step that anyone could take towards waking up is to develop more empathy. I think that they're shutting off so much that once you start like getting them to be able to be like, oh wow, I'm not caring as much as I should about this scenario or something like that. I feel like that's usually the first step.
That's pretty smart.
No, that's so good, because most of the friends that we're in diminish their own needs,
Mhm.
and they don't think in terms of you know, my needs, and it needs to be basically validated. In other words, it's okay. It's okay to care about yourself, and it feels good too, and it's good.
Mhm. I think we dull our senses in the organization. We don't let ourselves feel things, or if we do feel them, we're not allowed to express them. So you end up just internalizing those feelings and kind of swallowing them. And now being able to, like you said, Kenzie, that's why like what you said really touched me, because I am still trying to develop empathy. Not that I, didn't care about people, but I obviously had up some walls. Like my critical thinking skills were not allowing me to truly feel um, how I could inadvertently make someone feel a certain way because of my language, maybe about gay people or what have you, right? And so yeah, developing your empathy is really important to having compassion for other people and maybe changing your perception of how you see the world, just see things in general. So yeah, that's good point.
Ryan, being exposed to others doing that is so helpful. In other words, like in group
Oh
settings,
yeah, right.
in group settings where there's others who are non-witnesses, you know, we learn by each other's example, and that's what inspires us and moves us to be more of what we are. That's so necessary, because otherwise they're so isolated among their own people.
Yeah.
That's not good.
You're not exposed to that kind of behavior. I wasn't really exposed to certain familial kind of bonding.
Right.
It was just the generic biblical conversations. It wasn't
Well,
like
you were
heartfelt.
probably even afraid to share yourself.
Oh, I stopped. Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I'm saying.
yeah.
Like I just remember shutting down somewhere in my teens, realizing there's no need for me to express myself because everything
Yeah.
I say, even
Right.
when they're asking, when they're genuinely asking, when I give a
Oh, no.
genuine answer,
Right.
it's
Right.
the wrong answer. Well, don't you
No.
want to, like, literally I say this all, don't you want to live forever? Don't you want to make Jehovah happy? Because that is
Yeah.
the exact verbiage that I would hear anytime I express myself. So I just started
Who's gonna
swallowing
want?
it.
Who's gonna want to say no? I don't want to.
Right. Like, of course I do. Okay, well, this is how you have to go to the Kingdom Hall right now. You have to get ready to go. Okay, well, like,
Right.
okay, it doesn't matter that I'm not feeling well. It doesn't matter that I have homework. None of those things matter about how I feel. You just have
You
to
don't matter.
buck up, suck up, and do it.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm gonna use the box here to cut in.
No, go please. You got it.
In
You're doing
furtherance
great.
to your thought earlier, Ryan, the only thing that you're supposed to feel as a witness is joy. So if you feel anything other than joy,
Yep.
you don't know what to say to people. If someone asks, "How are you doing today, brother?" If anything other than "I'm doing great" comes out of your mouth, people are like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with that," because it doesn't compute, because you're supposed to be joyful. So if you're dealing with personal issues, if you're just feeling sad, you're depressed, no one knows what to do with that. So they don't have that empathy. It's just all fake.
Mm-mm. It's like, oh, Nash, Nash, you haven't been feeling well. Well, you probably haven't been praying enough. How's your Bible
Exactly.
study? How's your personal relationship with Jehovah? You're depressed? Oh,
Yeah.
then you must not be going out in field service enough.
Yeah.
You're
You're
not
not
praying
attending
hard
enough
enough.
meetings.
That's it's funny you say that, because that was, well, I mean, if you know my story, my brother, he took his life in 2011, and he always, I remember his brother-in-law, who was an elder, that was his advice to him, was because he was struggling with just feeling down about himself, and he blamed himself for everything, and if things weren't working out well or whatever, and he was just like, you just need to get to all your meetings, and you need to get out in service more and read your Bible and pray, and that'll make it better. And that's such terrible advice, because for people that are struggling, they'll do those things, and then things don't get better. It doesn't fix them. And what do? Well, you're already taught to blame yourself for everything anyway. This is a problem with me. I'm weak. I'm not doing something right. Jehovah must hate me or be upset with me. So I might as well just give up. And that's sadly what a lot of people do. And whether it's, to the point where they do something drastic, or perhaps it turns into an addiction issue, or something else that harms themselves, because that's what we do. We're taught to take it out on ourselves. This is our problem, our fault. Things aren't working out because we're not doing enough for Jehovah. And that's why.
Yeah, and it used to annoy me when they used to say, don't let the brothers in the congregation basically, keep you from going to the Kingdom Hall because they're all imperfect. But I mean, if we're going to a meeting to learn to imitate Jesus, who is perfect, then what's with all the contradictions and all the hypocrisy? I mean, every meeting we go to, I keep saying every meeting that we used to go to, it was about imitating Christ, but they do not do that. It's so hypocritical. It's so one-sided, and it's so conditional. And it's only if you're in the hall, you're great, you're special. If you're not, screw you. And then what gets me more mad is it's always about going to the meetings. If you are spiritually weak, you're not going to the meetings enough. If you're spiritually weak, you're not going out in service much. But they don't talk about how they don't go and see you. You know how they used to do those shepherding calls? That was like, I remember back in my day, they stopped that. Like, they weren't doing shepherding calls. Like, I thought that you guys are supposed to be loving and welcoming. Like, if I'm spiritually weak, whatever happened to the sheep that you're supposed to leave on the 99? I mean, the 99 you're supposed to leave on the mountain and then go after the one that's astray. Whatever happened to that? Matthew 15. Like, that was Jesus' instruction, and you're literally ignoring that. And it's really sad. People take their lives. Stephen Lett's niece's brother took his life.
Yes.
It's sad. It's very, very sad.
Her speech, or whatever you want to call it, was really moving. It was nice to meet her. I wish I had more time to spend with her. It's really sad. Like, and Nash, my condolences to you, but it's not good advice to tell people just to pray more. Just those are like those thought terminating cliches almost, where it's just all leads back to God. Like sometimes it's deeper than that, and there's more help that is needed. But and MJ, you said about the hypocrisy, and the JWs are taught how to use the Bible like as a weapon, but they are also taught how to use it as like a shield and a defense. So they can wield it against you, and they can tell you how you're supposed to behave and what you're supposed to do. But if they have any kind of privilege, they don't have to, they can use the Bible to defend themselves. It's maybe above your thinking or your understanding or whatnot.
Yeah, they're using
So
more of a
it's just
shield.
double speak. Yeah, they
Definitely.
really do. And all religions do it. They hide behind their.
And they say that all Bibles are the same, but they're not. When I used to go out on service and talk to people, that's what I would tell people at the door. Like, hey, your Bible is just like my Bible. There's nothing different. But then they keep you from all of the like hidden truths, and it's always pushing their doctrine. And that's why they use it as a shield, because they want to teach you something that is not found in the generic Bible to protect. And you know what's funny is, like, if you're called the truth should be able to defend itself. So why be defensive? You know what I mean? Like, there's no need for you to be defensive if you're calling yourself the truth. And just a fun fact for all you guys that are scared to thinking that you're leaving the truth, Jesus was the only person that said that, he's the truth. So what are you doing? If they're not following Jesus, then it's not the truth, because he is the truth. And the truth is to love your neighbor, love your friends, love everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, if you don't believe in God, you're an atheist, you just got to think, man. If they're following a man that called himself perfect and they're going away from that, they're not the truth.
Nope.
I think it's interesting going back to what I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about kind of the reasons. Well, when we're brought up, I was brought up in the 80s. So at that time, we were very, like, I was taught Jehovah's Witnesses are so different than other religion. We were always comparing ourselves to the Catholics and how much better we were. We didn't have a child abuse problem and pedophile priests. And something that was really pounded into us was the fact that we didn't serve God for a reward like other religions, right? We did everything out of love for Jehovah. That was our motivator. And then it's interesting because when you hear comments, and everyone's heard them, where it's like if somebody's struggling or wanting to leave and they say, don't you want to see your grandma in paradise? Don't you want to see your brother when he's resurrected? Don't you want to live forever? Those are all rewards. Those are all payoffs. Why is that the first go-to? And it's funny because when you're in it, you don't recognize that as like, I'm doing this for something, because the reality is you are doing it for something. Because for starters, you're scared of getting destroyed, and you're scared on missing out on this beautiful promise. But at the same time, you'll just preach to people that other religions do it for selfish reasons. We don't. Well, essentially, we did. I think anyway. I don't know what you guys think.
Question: is everyone here born-ins?
I was, yeah.
I was no, not really,
Okay.
kind of, sort of, but
Just not observation. Fran and I were not born-ins. We came in at 33. We were 33, so we had a culture before that. Really,
We went to college. We had critical thinking.
Well-defined, messed up culture. We had a culture, and one of the things that signified our culture, growing up young, when we were young, was do your own thing. Or if someone did something that you didn't like, and you said, hey, that's not my bag. I do my own thing. I do my own thing. You do your own thing. I do my own thing. We were raised with the notion that we had personal choice, and that you make that choice. And what I noticed with the witnesses, you are condemned if you do that. You're condemned. And you're only encouraged to make their choice. And that's the thing that I noticed the born-in struggle with, the ability to make decision. Actually struggling as if it's not even right to make their own decision. And that's a thing that nothing good is going to happen. No new story. See, because you've got to write a new story for yourself. You're not going to write a new story if you don't make your decisions. And you have to be so careful in that, always falling back on the decisions that they influenced us to make.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a definite struggle.
Sorry.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I was born in, and I was taught all my life, that this was the truth, and they make all the decisions. They're the head honchos. So when leaving, I don't know how to like live life. I don't know what decisions to make, if they were even going to be a good decision or not. Even before I got married to my first wife, I was attending college, and I had to drop out because they kept forcing me to leave. Basically, they kept saying that the world is ending, it's just around the corner, you're wasting your time, you got to attend another 5 years of college. So I dropped out, and then because I dropped out, I had to seek like some temporary job, make money, get married, and then we were living in a basement when I could have been in college, making, doing my thing, finding a good job to be able to support a marriage. And because of that, everything just went downhill from there. I struggled with debt. I struggled with everything financial. We had no house, and that took a toll. Like our marriage was very stressful. And even up until now, that was a lifetime ago. But now that I'm out, I still struggle trying to figure out how to deal financially. I'm still in debt. I don't know how to live life. I don't know what it's like to. I mean, I'm taking classes right now on how to buy a house because I don't know what that's like. I don't know how to save. So it's very bad. It's just like going to school when they don't teach you how to live life. It's no different. They should be teaching you, but they don't. And it's all about what they say. And it was really hard for me, living in my car, not being able to find a place. Until right now, I'm finally in a basement of a cousin's house who I never even spoke to when I was in the organization. That was another big thing. Not being able to talk to my family for decades, not knowing who they even were. And then when they found out I was living in my car, they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what?" And they took me
Wow.
in. So
Yeah.
it's man, I just don't understand. This
Well,
is the truth.
I think to Joe and Fran, to their point about making decisions. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are good at convincing their members, especially born-in members, that you are making your own decisions. You feel like I'm in control of my life. I made this decision. I'm choosing to be a Jehovah's Witness. And that's the dangerous thing, because when you see people leave, they do struggle because sure, they have made decisions in their life, but a lot of them have been poor decisions because what's driving those decisions is based around, how does this affect my spirituality? How does this affect my reaching out in the congregation, or my field service time, or my meeting attendance? How does Jehovah feel about this? So every decision has been tainted. And so we have to, so when you get out, and that's why some people go off the rails, and because now they're like, well, I can decide for myself what to do. I'm going to do, this thing. And it's a crazy, maybe they try some drugs, or they try some, they try something off the wall. And it's because they feel like they can make these choices. But in reality, like what Joe and Franz said, that's the choices they should be making should be about their financial future, about their job, about their family, personal choices that they think they've kind of already made, or that we've already made, but we could have made better, and we can improve on. Right? We can start to plan for our retirement a little bit. We can travel a bit if that's what we wanted, or do something fulfilling for ourselves because now we don't have a meeting 3 times a week or whatever it was when we were in, and even like now, like Saturday morning. I mean, how great are the weekends when there's no pressure for field service and meetings.
Yeah.
You know,
Liberating. Can I bring up a point that I have to remind myself? And there's a scripture, I think it's in Revelation, is where it says, outside are the dogs, and those that love the lie. And it's like, wow. You think about dogs and loving the lie. It's like, I'm a human. You're human. We're humans. We're capable of making decisions. If you have a dog, who makes the decisions for your dog? You do. You don't let your dog make all those decisions for him. You make the decisions for your dog. Well, the ones that love the lie, you wonder, why would someone love the lie? Why would someone love a lie? Well, if it relieves them of some responsibility, or if it somehow satisfies them in some way, even if it's not healthy or good for them, they're going to prefer a lie. Dogs are like that. I mean, animals, humans, well, we have to be more rational, because, I may like this a lot, but I think it's going to kill me if I keep it up. I've got to quit that. I need to make a decision, and I need to do the right thing for me, because otherwise it's going to go really bad. Dogs don't do that. They favor things that aren't good for them. I think they'd eat like a bunch of grapes and they'd kill them, or whatever else. But they prefer that. And I swear that a person could be so corrupted that they behave more like dogs than they do like the humans that they are. But we have a responsibility to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves. It's our absolute responsibility to do that for ourselves. And that's where that society took advantage of our nature, and just they knew how to pull us away from making our decisions for ourselves. We have to take that back.
Yeah, I agree. Even as I just turned 50 not too long ago, and I'm still finding it difficult to make certain decisions. Sometimes I feel kind of paralyzed when it comes to certain things, and I think that stems, I don't know, maybe it's just mental fogginess or something, but it seems to stem back to there where you're told exactly what you need to do and how you need to do things, and you're not supposed to rely on your own abilities. You got to rely on Jehovah and the organization. And then it's like, well, I need to do this or this. I don't know. So I'm just frozen. And, then nothing gets accomplished, or I make, off the wall crazy decisions sometimes. And it's difficult. So.
I feel stunted. I think stunted is a good way to put it. And I think it's just because we've been infantilized. Everything, all of our decisions have been made for us. Our life path has been handed to us. And before, as you were saying, Joe, like, it's what we're surrounded with. We haven't really experienced people talking about a future other than a paradise, what Jay was saying in the comments. We're always geared towards how are we going to get to paradise, and that's all we care about. Every single decision is either like pleasing Jehovah, or are we going to get to paradise so we can see our loved ones and be with our family for all eternity. And I'm not used to people talking about college and what do you want to do after school, and I didn't think I was going to survive school. A lot of us had that same feeling if you were raised in. So we don't prepare, we don't save, we don't do the things that normal people would do in planning for a future. We're like horses with those blinders on, or whatever you call it. And that's all we see. We don't really see what's happening beyond that. And I think it's probably going to hurt a lot more people than we'll ever realize.
That tunnel vision that you're talking about reminds me of I'll just call her a sister, because what else to call her? Well, I remember I was leaving my job, and she's been noticing how I was down, and this was when I was leaving, and how down and depressed I was, because we worked in the same company. So she would always walk by me, and I would just like have my head down. I'll just be down and depressed. So she asked me what was up, and I told her, I told her some of the things that I was going through and the doubts that I was having, and she ended up calling me sick. She said that I was sick, and it was because I was talking about how Anthony Morris wasn't mentioned in their um, broadcast, their next broadcast after he had been removed or left or whatever. And at the same time, during that time, that was when there was that suicidal shooting at the Kingdom Hall back in the day. I don't remember where it was exactly. And I brought that up. I was like, you have a member that's been there for so long, and you do not talk anything about him, not even the good that he did. And on the other side, you're not talking about this family that lost their life and their families who are suffering from that. And instead of talking about how to, s- give comfort to these people who lost family, they're talking about donations. And she told me, you're sick for thinking that way, you're sick for talking about the governing body that way. And then she says, if you turn on the news channel, what kind of news do you hear all the time? And I'm like, I don't know, bad news, good news. And she's like, it's bad news all the time. The governing body don't want to continue that repetition of bad news. They want to talk about good news because it'll be too overwhelming for people. But I'm like, but that's exactly what people need. They need to know how to overcome those things. And if you're talking about good news, how is donations good news? Good news is talking about, those people, and at least bring up Jehovah or something, and say, hey, we got them in our prayers. You guys can rely on us. Don't worry. Anything else, but they just don't care. It's all about donations all the time, and then you're the crazy one for thinking any different, and it's stupid.
Mm-hmm. That's
And I think there's a
intentional.
lack of accountability when we're talking about decision making. Um, as a witness, I was convinced that we were more accountable than your average person, than your worldly person, because we were accountable to the Most High God, right? So, but the reality is, a lot of decisions that I made at the time, and that I saw a lot of other people make, showed a lack of accountability. And usually that's around either relationship or financial decisions, because at the end of the day, you always fell back on, this doesn't really matter. This life doesn't really matter. As long as I'm doing what I have to for the organization, and I get through to paradise, that's the real life. So you could just get in this perpetual cycle of bad decision after bad decision, and you have no setup for later on in your life. And you would always just try and make yourself feel better by thinking, it doesn't matter because the new world is coming. Well, now you get through half your life, and maybe you wake up to it, and now what? Now there is no new world. And the reality is that new world promise didn't really console. It didn't console me really like it should have, right? You still always felt this stress, this anxiety over things, even though you thought the new world was coming. Because I think, a lot of us do find it hard to believe in reality.
Mm.
Nash, you talk about accountability. In other words, we look at the Society for Accountability, and yet they give no accountability. But yet they don't encourage us to be accountable to ourselves. Well, who's going to be responsible for us? Well, someone say, hey, I'll be responsible for you. Don't you worry. I'm going to be totally responsible for you. You just do everything I want you to do, and we'll be totally responsible for you. How does that prove out to be? I mean, does it work? Did it work out well? I mean, how can you let liars be responsible for you and get away with it? And now at the same time, you end up not being accountable to ourselves because they tricked us away from that. And at some point, we realize, I have to be accountable to myself. It's my responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't have to ask them permission. I have to take it. Take that take back that accountability. And they're not going to want you to do it. They're going to guilt trip you every inch of the way if you try to do that. Total guilt trip. Total guilt tripping.
Well, because then they keep you vulnerable, right? And you rely on them. That's what they want.
See, basically, they're afraid. They are afraid of our nature. They really are afraid of our. It's a power. Human nature is very powerful. I mean, think about it. The Bible says we're made in God's image. Well, he's not a sheep weakling. He's not a sheep. Well, why should we be sheep-like if we're made in God's image? It doesn't make sense. They're afraid of our image, not just our image. They're afraid of our ability. They know that.
That's why they make us dumb.
I think that's the reason that they instate the policy in the first place, too. One who starts to develop any of those qualities they want to keep everyone away from, they're like, you cannot speak to any of us anymore. You know, we don't want your logic, critical thinking, your empathy. We don't want those words to even reach the ears of people who are
right.
Yeah. See, that's what that elder told our children. He said, "We're dangerous. We're dangerous." And he's absolutely right. No, he's absolutely right. See, because for them to think for themselves like humans are designed to do, they would conclude that they're part of a cult of criminals, and they don't want them to do that. Criminals don't ever want something like that.
I was thinking about your thought about now I'm forgetting what I was going to say. Basically, how many people, older Bethelites, found out the hard way that no one was going to take care of them. They did their service. They thought the new system was going to come. They'll be taken care of. But of course, they were basically put out to pasture. And for all we know, could have ended up homeless.
Betrayal.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they're probably having to lean on the government for help, which is, for everybody. I've had to lean on the government for help at times and stuff because, jobs don't pay you what you're worth. But it's just interesting how they show such disdain for the government. I hate it too. Like, hey, our government sucks. But they show such disdain for its services, the judicial system, et cetera, yet they lean so heavily into it. Behind the scenes, they're weaponizing the legal system against victims. They're suing for their rights. They're fighting for all their money that they feel is owed to them across the world. So that's one of those just hypocritical things that they do.
Ryan, to support that government connection there. Fun fact here. Russell was of the member of the Russell family of Illuminati. And basically...
That's what I keep hearing.
He was assigned basically by the Rothschilds, who are Zionists, to take up the Zionists.
Wait. Stop. Wait, no, do you have evidence of this? I'm really serious right now because I've been doing a lot of research about stuff.
You gotta look for it. You gotta look for it. He was look, it was called the Zion's Watchtower originally. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It was Zion's Watchtower. Okay, well, shortly after a while, they stopped calling it that. They wanted to hide that. The goal was to politically maneuver the nation of, the Jews, nation of Israel, whoever they are, into a territory that wasn't theirs. This was so political, you can't stand it. And they did it under the cover of a religion, a Christian religion that basically was designed to pull Catholics away and align them more toward the Zionist beliefs. It was political. We're used for a political.
I actually kind of want to cry right now, but I'm going to mute myself for a moment. I'm kind of I need to think about
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always trying to hide things. That's what the new light is for.
We'll give them this.
To hide all of the
Yeah.
BS.
I think it's a good time.
No, I was just gonna
Sorry,
say,
I think it's a good.
go ahead.
I just want to just say one point though. I think it's a good time to mention that in the description, I'm putting different resources that people can turn to for help. I put a template for these cards. I'm hoping that maybe I could get Joe and Fran to do that. But also, if you have any sort of links to information that could be useful, or to things like you were saying, Joe, that that people could investigate themselves and to be able to make those decisions.
We will. There's a massive amount of information. There's another scripture, and I don't care where it's from, but it says, "My people will suffer for lack of knowledge." That was so prophetic. It's not funny. We suffer for lack of knowledge. If we have good knowledge, we make good decisions. Well, they made sure we didn't have that knowledge. In fact, they forbid us to take in that knowledge. They forbid us. They kept us so busy and so focused and so transfixed on their magic that we failed to seek the knowledge of what was right around us. Well, we owe it to ourselves to gain more knowledge.
Yes. And that is what I've designated myself to do, since I have the blessing of waking up. Like, I'm trying to see everything, because this is really like crap to wake up to this ish. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. This is really, really freaking sick, but I'm trying to find the silver lining as I can. And so that's why I've been doing all the research that I have. And I just really want to thank you for putting that in front of my face, because I kept feeling like there's a connection I'm missing. Like, I'm missing some pieces, and I think you just put some pieces together for me.
At the sake of being too hard-hitting for these things, but I'm a fixer, and things get fixed only if you make changes. Governments love religions. The reason why governments love religions is because they can connect with people and control people in ways that governments can't. So government means mind control. Well, the religion goes the next step, and it's like the heart. It controls the heart now. And at that point, the government likes it, because then and only then can they get people to go so far as to go to war and to have a really powerful reason to go kill someone who they don't even know.
Right.
That's why governments love religions. And they don't care what religion it is, so long as it's something that keeps people collected together, and that has the ear of the priest, whoever it is. Because the priests work right in conjunction with the governments.
Yep, hand in hand.
Love of God is love of God. Love of religion is a totally different story. Totally different story.
Yep.
Spirituality and religion are two different things.
The government and religion has literally, the Bible is the perfect example. I apologize if I repeat myself, but the Bible is the perfect example of how governments use religion. The elitists use religion as a tool of control, because it's easier to control a people if you have them complacent and complicit. Exactly. So what we see in the Bible, as they, if we believe the Bible, as these certain people groups go through Canaan and murder everybody who doesn't agree, like it's proving exactly how you can get people to basically murder their neighbor, murder to their own kind. Right? You can, like the Bible says, murder your kid if they do ABC. Murder your neighbor if they worship, if they do something on the Sabbath, right? So it's an incentive, right? It's clear as day what it's used for.
Yeah.
Which is why we're supposed to have religion and government separate, but we're realizing it's never been the case. It's never happened.
So some may make the statement, I love God, but I hate religion.
Yeah, the concept of what a God could be could be a very beautiful thing, and I respect that. But what it turns into, again, as a double-edged sword. Sorry, I don't know why I said sword.
Sword.
It's a sword. Use the force. It's a double-edged sword. You know,
Yes.
it's used as a weapon, but it's also used as a shield. Like, oh, I'm gonna beat the ish out of you because my God said I could. Why are you hurting me because you don't like my God?
I don't
Got
know
both
if you
ways.
guys know about Lucius Seneca. He's a philosopher way back when. Like, he was formerly known as Seneca the Younger, but this is what he says. I took a screenshot of it like the other day. He says religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by rulers as useful.
Mm.
And it's extremely true because, going along with what you were saying, Joe, about if you lack knowledge, then you're worth nothing. Like that scripture, I found it in Hosea 4:6, and the rest of it says this: because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you from being priest for me, because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. And religion is doing that today, or at least the Jehovah's Witnesses are. They're controlling you by telling you have no knowledge, and if you leave, then we'll take your children hostage. And I've struggled with that. That
Ooh.
was one of the biggest waking moments for me when I found out that Jehovah had to kill Pharaoh's son just to prove a point. Like, why is the kid so responsible for the father's mistakes? And I remember speaking to a brother at the time, and he said that if you buckle your kids into the seat and you get into a car, I mean, if you don't buckle your kids into the seat and you get into a car accident, whose fault is it? And I'm like, yeah, it's the father's fault. But how is it that because you're driving poorly, why does the son have to suffer? Like, that's your mistake. But what the Pharaoh was doing shouldn't have to, there's a scripture
Shouldn't
in
affect.
Ezekiel
Yep.
16:20.
You're responsible for your own
Right. You should be responsible
sins.
for your own sin. Your son or
Yes.
child isn't liable for your sin. Like that they twist that. And you know what? I've never heard of that scripture when I was in the organization. Never heard
Nope,
of it.
because they skipped those parts.
That's the problem. It's all about
Mhm.
control. And like what Kenzie was saying, it's disfellowshipping and shunning is a form of control. They do that, they use that to silence you and keep you in the dark because they fear you. And it's all about control. And rulers know this and they use it as useful. So that's all I needed to say. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to jump in here then. I was thinking about what you were saying, Joe, about being a fixer and taking care of problems and that. So I think in a sense we're all kind of fixers in that we're taking part in this work of trying to alert people, trying to do something, not just sitting back and going, "Whew, I got out," or or I'm not going back or whatever, and just saying, "Not my problem anymore." It's still our problem because we want to help the people. We want to fix things.
Mhm.
And I think that's important because I don't think people realize how big the XJW community is, because there's like a small group of us. I guess we're a pretty big group of us, but like on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and everything else. And then and then there are all those ex-witnesses that are out there that haven't really woken up, that live a world, in quotes, worldly life, and still in the back of their minds they kind of think it's true, but they usually have a troubling story along the way of something that happened to them. My niece, for instance, just told me the other day, because she's been kind of quiet about it, and she's out and but has her own struggles, and she said at the place she works she met 3 people. One of two I think have been raised witnesses. One of them, their best friend was a witness and committed suicide when they were disfellowshipped. And that's just a small sample size, but the reality is, I've talked to, I work in construction and I meet homeowners and customers all the time, and a lot of times it comes up because we're in a small town, because I grew up here and they want to know, who my family is, and then they recognize the name. And so we get talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, and everyone seems to know or be related to somebody who is a witness or is a witness, and they all have stories to tell, usually not positive. So this group, it touches a lot of people. It's kind of everywhere, and so I think that's, like, to the original point of this was to raise awareness, because I think that's the most important thing we can do, like with your cards and everything else, is to raise awareness. Because someone asked me last night, like, what was the one thing that woke you up? And I had been out for a year and a half and still hadn't given myself permission to look at anything, apostate, because I was scared of it. I knew people that had been disfellowshipped. I wouldn't reach out to them. It took a lot for me to finally do that. And once you start, it was just a watershed moment. And now that I've been out long enough, I know people that have left or have been removed, and they're scared to talk to me for years after, because they think I'm a big, scary apostate.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the most important thing we can do is just be available, approachable, and try and raise awareness however we can, because you can't just go to somebody and say,
No.
1914's a lie, or there's pedophiles in the organization, because you just don't hear it when you're in. It's a lie.
Nash, to pick up on that, there's something called poetic justice, and just as the witnesses come to your door or my door, I went to their door and I told them all the truth, and I'm going to correct them, and I'm going to tell them how they need to live, and they have to stop what they're doing. The poetic justice here is that the public is going to catch up to the knowledge of what the witnesses are all about. And in my mind, they're going to end up conveying that back to the witnesses, the ones who are stuck in, and they're going to help them to realize, you've been living a lie, and you've been lied to, and this is a cult, and you've got to make some changes for your life, or you're going to suffer worse. And that's what I think. That's what we're working at, is to help the public get back to the witnesses. I think that's the only thing that's going to really work.
Yeah, because I think a lot of these, a lot of people are reached by maybe not direct apostate content originally. I know for myself, I was watching the Raymond Scientology, in the beginning, and I started to.
I love that.
Yeah, and it didn't wake me up immediately, but I started to.
It sowed the seeds.
Yes, because you see the similarities, and you start to think, well, that's strange, because that's very similar to what I'm in. So I think that's very positive how many documentaries and series there are now in mainstream, streaming services and everywhere else that deal with cults and high control groups, because I think that's a big key in taking that first step for a witness to start with.
Like, good distinct two areas to where the way we want to be engaging with the public is to raise awareness of every single thing, issue, right? And then you're dealing with people who are in, or people who might consider leaving or waking up. We want to just be more there. Like, we want them to know that there's a community of us that are that's where we need the just positive activism of, like, there's a good group of people doing, like, in a community here. I won't have nothing if I leave,
Yeah.
Like the big, like, oh, I need to spread information.
Right.
If you're talking to someone who's in, you have to approach it totally different. Activism to the general public.
That's where the meetups are so helpful, even if it's one-on-one and you meet for coffee and you're just talking to people and say, hey, did you realize this? And, not still like coming out strong, like you mentioned about 1914, but just meeting up with people and say, hey, we're real people. We haven't changed. We're the same people that we were when we were in that organization. We're just doing things differently than we did before. If I can go back, Ryan, you were asking for the reference when Joe mentioned about Russell, and I found Okay.
That
But
would be
anyway, if I could just play something really quick. I don't know if anyone's here has heard of Santos Bonacci. Anyone ever hear of him?
Mm,
I don't
Santos
think
familiar.
so.
Well,
His-
he was in 22 years.
Yeah,
he was a witness
witness.
22 years.
And his
Okay.
channel is Mr. Astrotheology. Okay,
Oh,
it's really good. But I'm
was
just,
really
if I could just play this one part, he talks about Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's see if it comes through. And then
Jehovah's Witness, learning all these things and just treasuring them in my heart and remembering them and paying attention. Then in 2007, finally, after years of, I was in my 40s, I was getting bored with the meetings, going to the meetings of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I realized, no, these guys, they're not satisfying me spiritually. This is not where I want to be.
Now, can you explain in a nutshell the difference between Jehovah's Witness and your like average Christian branch? Because I know the only thing I know about Jehovah's Witness, because I said my uncle married a Jehovah's Witness woman, and they could never go to our Christmas parties, family Christmas parties, or they all I
Merry
know is
Christmas.
they can't celebrate any holidays
Merry
because
Christmas.
for whatever reason. That's all I know about Jehovah's Witness. And
Yeah.
Prince was Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, and Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Can you
Yeah.
break down Jehovah's Witness a little bit? I'm interested.
Okay, so they were founded by a man called Charles Taze Russell. Aha.
Russell.
Now, you know Yale University, Skull and Bones? That's the Russell Trust. The Russell family is one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, according to Fritz Springmeier, the Russell family. Now, this guy, he was a friend of Lord Rothschild. So the Rothschilds, they wanted a very Jewish Christian religion, and they wanted proselytes, people to go,
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
that's okay. Inopportune time.
That is
It's,
so.
The devil's angry.
I have to do a bunch of research. on
Illuminati's calling.
Same, Kenzie.
Like, what are you
Kenzie,
doing?
I'm literally gonna dedicate I had other things I was gonna do, but I'm gonna probably dedicate a lot of my day to
It's a rabbit.
uh,
I can tell.
yeah, this is definitely gonna be one of those rabbit holes where I think I'm gonna be illuminated
Yeah.
on the other side of it.
I see what you did there.
You've been illuminated.
I've got
It's too
to.
late.
I've got
I
to
think
get
they
out.
froze.
You gotta go, Nash.
Yeah, I've got work to do today. So
Thanks for joining us.
See you
Well,
later.
thank you
bro.
for hanging out with us, and
Thank you for having me. Have a good weekend. Cheers.
you too.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, did we lose?
Oop.
Oh no.
Here, we're
Oh,
here.
there we
There they are. There they are.
Are you
Welcome
Ryan?
back. No,
Okay,
go ahead.
Sonny,
Do you
thank
do you want to
those-
finish that or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
How,
we
how
got-
long is it though?
It's not very
It's
long.
about a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Just
Okay. Cool.
thinking,
So Jehovah's
Oh, yeah.
Witness was formed after Mormonism?
yeah, it was in the 1870s. The Mormons were the 1830s.
Oh, okay. So Jehovah's Witness is pretty new. Okay.
Yeah, very new. So this Russell guy, he was basically writing letters to Lord Rothschild and saying how important it is that Zionism is spread through the earth, and until Israel has its nation, it will never be, blah, blah, blah. We know the spiel. It's all that
wow.
Marxism and so forth. So the Jehovah's Witnesses would be the most Jewish Christian religion that exists. All right? So that
The
gave
Mosaic
me
Law, yeah.
a good purview of, theology and the different modes of theology that can exist. So that morphed me into a syncretist. Now, a syncretist,
Okay, yeah.
syncretist is this.
And
Okay, there was that.
and he's very good for a lot of other information like this. Santos Bonacci.
And that was with it's just 2 days ago. It was with Eddie Bravo. If you just,
I'll have to look that up. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Interesting.
Very
Yeah, so
interesting.
So if you don't mind providing any links that you have, that way
Okay.
people can look for themselves and think on it, and make their own decisions and that, and learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should question, have their own questions, do their own research. You should be able to come up with your own conclusions. Doesn't mean we don't ask questions, we don't talk about it, because sometimes I'm like, what do you think about that? I'm not saying that whatsoever, but you don't have to just take my word for anything, or now you have the freedom to take your own path, right? We're doing our own thing now, so ask those questions. Right.
Just a simple comparison. I started out from very young being mechanical. And what we did is, even young guys, we'd always talk among ourselves and our experiences and our encounters and our troubles and difficulties. And I tell you, that's the way any mechanic learns the most, is when they discuss their situations with each other. They do. That's a very important thing, the most important way that they learn. And so too also with anyone who has to make decisions about their life. The more and frequently and completely we discuss those things with some other trusted individuals who've been through it, it's amazing the experience that we can pick up without having to stumble along otherwise. The open discussion is so valuable.
Absolutely.
It is.
Agreed.
This is the unservice we needed back in the day.
There you go.
Would have gotten more accomplished if I had this kind of discussion around topics instead of just being fed the info that they wanted.
Here's what you got to say, and here's what you got to do.
I have a few videos lined up. One of them is about the possibility of waking up a witness, and I think it'll be successful. I have to try it though before I upload it to see if it works, because I want to talk about the Mosaic Law. If they're worshiping Jehovah, that's because they're worshiping a God that was obsessed with the law, and Jesus broke the law consistently. Worked on the Sabbath. Healed on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Made fun of the eye for eye. And then the whole multiple wives thing and the raping and all of that. That's all Jehovah's law. So I don't think people know that. Did you guys know about all that stuff? Because when I was in there,
yeah,
I didn't know much about the law.
Which is one of the reasons why I've kind of brought up the argument that maybe, again, I don't even know what I believe about the Bible. You all know that I'm an atheist, but I wonder if there was a Jewish guy who existed, Jesus. There's a possibility he actually was a worshiper of El. El was one of the more popular gods of the time.
Right.
Right.
Unlikely Baal, maybe Baal, doubtfully Baal, but there's a possibility it wasn't. He never mentions the name Yahweh, and I don't think that's because nobody knew his name. The name was written down. He was aware of the scrolls. He knew what the name was. I think it's just simply because it could be a different god completely. It could be the old god El.
Right.
That's my.
Were
That's
worshippers
my,
of Baal called ballers?
But I want.
Yo, I'm a baller.
Jonathan, how did I miss this?
Wish it was a little bit taller. Wish it was a baller.
I wish I was I am a baller. I love it. Thank you. Writing that down, stealing it.
That's all yours. That's free.
Like when people try to make the lists on how you could potentially wake somebody up, because we all know, like, we don't actually have the power, no matter what we do or say, to wake someone up. They have to be able to do that work for themselves. So it's kind of a gentle, like, combination of hand holding and like information that you have like hand picked very carefully. That's really all you could do to potentially, because any outright attacks, any, whatever. So I've like read through lists on Reddit. People, like, a lot of people, I appreciate hearing what they think their different really moving are. So I appreciate the one you just brought out, because I hadn't thought about that. But there's a lot of people go down the road of just okay, explain to me how the governing body is neither inspired or infallible, but they're still inspired, and just let them run with it. Try and explain
Yeah,
that.
that is like that is, see, that where you get their critical skills, like their critical thinking skills going. I think that's an excellent question. How can it be both in the same? Which is it?
Yeah. So that's a really good one. I kind of an odd week for me because I actually got a chance to talk to my extremely in dad this week. I haven't talked to him in 3 years, and I sent him a text this week and I said, would you be willing to talk to me about my doubts one time? And he actually said yes, which shocked me.
Wow.
Wow.
I spent the whole week compiling all of my information, lists, everything I could think of, and it was I made a whole non-apostate source list, so I wasn't going to share anything apostate with him, and I didn't. But we kept getting to these breaking points, which I think was really interesting because it gave me like an insight on how Jehovah's Witnesses are handling like all of the attention on their group and all of the media and all of the, you know, just the time of the internet, people being able to research. So he kept stopping me with, okay, but we know everyone's imperfect. We know everyone's imperfect. God said he would have a perfect organization. God never said people wouldn't make big mistakes. We also said we were a prophet in the past, but now we're not. So the light gets brighter. Like he always had a thing to just fall back on, which was, it was him admitting that there were doctrine mistakes and that there were date mistakes and that the governing body is messed up. And I actually asked him, how do you feel that the governing body is not blood guilty for mistakes that they've made if they're not inspired by God? And he was like, and I thought that was a hard-hitting question, but he said, they're just men. I mean, even if they are, it's so I was
that to me just sounds like their life isn't, I don't know how to put it. Like their life isn't, I am not even sure if I can put this in a way that I mean it. But like if you consider like the Jehovah's Witnesses where they were, let's just say where they were when they first started and where they are now, I would say it's like pretty much a different religion. I don't know how you would feel. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just pretend we're in Canaan and you have the Israelites and you have the Canaanites. They're all one and the same people, but maybe, you know, the Israelites' beliefs are a little bit more specific. Okay, fine. But how are you going to say that the Canaanites are wrong? Because really the Israelites are just kind of forming there. So their light is getting brighter. It's literally the same position. So like these people over here who maybe aren't keeping up with this light that's getting brighter, what would really be the difference? Why would those people deserve to die? It's almost just as if in one hand, like, okay, well, those people deserve to die, but these guys, again, we're going to shield ourselves and just say, oh, well, but they're just men. It doesn't, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't equate. It's almost exactly the same thing. Jehovah's Witnesses then would be considered apostates to Jehovah's Witnesses now. Canaanites were considered evil idolaters. Israelites had it right. But literally, it's like the same religion with just like a few little tweaks of the knob.
right.
Anyway, sorry, that was a rant. I don't know what I was saying. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all good.
Makes sense.
Love your rants.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Name
it
it
just,
Rantclastic.
That's what I do.
had no, they had no backing anymore, which I think was interesting because I was thinking like if this was a study, you'd be having to try and explain yourself to me. But because I know everything, you're just blowing me off. So I'm like, you've really reached a wall in what you can explain your religion to be. And that's when I hit him with, okay, information control, I don't agree with. You don't know all of the bad stuff that's coming from the group. You don't know all the suffering that's happening. And I do. And I have to lose you guys over that. I have to, like, had to make this choice based on information that you are just not willing to find out. And that is so hurtful. And he broke down crying and he was like, I don't know what to tell you, you know. And he was just like, pray about whether it's the right organization or not. That's all I could really say.
Wow.
Oh.
But just to get him to the point where he was acknowledging that I knew a lot of bad stuff, he said, thank you for not sharing with me what that is. But I was like, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. And he looked at me and he was like, I understand. And like getting him to just get that concept, I think that was the best thing I could do, you know? And it's frustrating to have had conversations with JWs, like very frustrating, very hard for me to do, but I feel like I did the most I could do.
That's wonderful.
That's
Yeah.
true. Fabulous what you did. Fabulous. You know,
You
if I
probably
can
planted
jump in here,
seeds.
there's
That's right.
the idea of waking up, and we continually talk with a 75-year-old Pimo brother. He hates being in, but he doesn't want to lose his family, his grandchildren, et cetera, and everything. So he brings up the point, you know, they've got to wake up and smell the coffee, or the other way around, they've got to smell the coffee and wake up. And I thought about that and said, you know, so a person could be lying in bed and they can be awake. They're awake, but I'm not getting up yet. You know, I'm still in bed. I'm down. I'm still down. I'm not getting up. But as soon as they smell coffee or bacon or the pitter patter of little feet destroying the house or something like that, or something interesting, it gets them up. They're attracted. They desire to get up. That's one way. The other way is if they hear a loud crash or the smell of burning wood, like a house on fire, that'll get them up. Either way, something is going to get them up. And society is very good at hurting people to wake them up. That's the one side of it. And that's how a lot of us have gotten out, because we didn't like the smell of smoke. And the other way is that they're attracted to the new and better life that they could have, seen through the eyes of us.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They will wake up. They will wake up.
It's as simple as, what would Jesus do? That's what I've been doing all my life. Just living by that rule. That's it. That's all it takes.
And if I can jump in with one more thing, we have so many people that come into the shops, so we interact with so many, and we purposely do when we're through with whatever business we have. And it usually comes down to where they recognize something, because we connect on a spiritual level. And the question comes up about religion, and they say, we're not interested in religion. And I said, we're interested in faith, in love. And
Right. I like that.
And I tell people, I says, look, you recognize our love for God in us. We recognize the love for God in you. That attracts us to each other. But as soon as there's a mention of religion, now all of a sudden, that'll separate us. My religion, your religion, that religion. Not only does it separate people, it actually gets people to kill each other. But our love for God that we show, that we display, that binds us to each other. It's such a small but huge awareness and experience that we've been having.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing to me that I was just my main goal of getting across when information fails, and when, you know, they're going to stop a conversation no matter what. They're like, dead stop. I don't believe the same, yada, yada.
Yeah.
The thing to me to get to do was, like I was saying earlier, empathy. So to get him to start thinking, I said, how could I, even if I could reconcile all this, how could I go back now knowing about all of the suffering and harm I know it's causing now, and you guys just aren't aware of? And he was just like dumbfounded, like he had no idea what to say. So I was like, just think about it. It's harming people. It cannot be good in the way that you think it is if it's harming people this badly. So that's what I tried to get across.
And I wanted to say, when your father was saying, just pray about it and, decide whether it's the right organization. Obviously, he was emotionally affected. He said he was crying. Hopefully, he will turn around and ask himself that same question, because, that's something he needs to consider himself.
Yeah, keep thinking on it, hopefully.
The main thing falling back later was to say it's the closest. He was like, what if it's the closest? It's the best option God had. So he picked that. And I was like, let's dissect that. He picked them in 19... They were teaching the wrong things, blah, blah, blah. He didn't even know about 1919 being the year they were chosen. So I was just like, are you not seeing that you maybe haven't researched, and I've done a lot of research and came to a wise conclusion, Like, I think it's good overall.
I hope so.
So much they don't know. And sometimes pointing out to them that they don't have knowledge that they think they have, because they're so confident. They're so confident because of what they've been conditioned to be. They're like, we are right. Everyone else is wrong. I know that for a fact. And they're kind of like, I don't even have to really, do work to prove that. I'm right. Not there. When they actually speak, it's not there. They don't have facts. They don't have evidence. They don't have real knowledge. So when you're pointing out to them that, like, maybe they don't have it, maybe they'll start to seek it more. That's my thought or idea on it.
If you tell them that they know anything from the Bible, they'll bring up Psalms 83:18, Matthew 24:14, John 17:3. That's all they know.
Here's another visual aid.
I love that.
I was a teacher, so I like visual aids. So spirituality is made up of empathy, intuition, and imagination. And if we have those, then cultivate them, because maybe we don't have enough empathy. You're talking about coming out of the organization, and you had to, Ryan said she had to, cultivate it. And our intuition, maybe we're not a very intuitive person, but there's ways that we can become more intuitive, listening to other people, reading books. Imagination, well, sometimes you just have to let your imagination go and think about things differently and outside the box. That's why this little thing that we copied, and I made a picture. The little fish is the religion, and he's in the fishbowl. The bigger fish is looking at him, and he's in the ocean, and that's spirituality. So it's a much wider range, bigger area to swim around in. So we don't want to swim in the fishbowl. We want to swim in the ocean.
Well, some people like the fishbowl. It's the only thing.
Yeah, some people like the fishbowl.
Yeah, some people don't like the fishbowl.
Our oldest son, he's 43. He's an elder. He said, "Well, this comforts me."
Yeah.
The religion comforts him.
And it's going to comfort him until it does something to hurt him.
Right.
And it is.
Everybody's different.
It's supposed to be a form of self comfort and soothing, like that's what religion was supposed to be for, I think. But I realize now that just in the power of horrible people, it is just a tool to groom us into one way of thinking, lacking empathy, lacking like everything your card said, like not trusting your intuition, not trusting our gut, like our boundaries. Like when something doesn't feel right, we're still forced to have to go into it because it's the truth. We already have this predestined idea of what the religion is, when in actuality, like that ocean, like if you want to call it connecting to source instead of being in that fishbowl, like that to me is like the true elevation, is like seeing how we are all interconnected and why every decision I make affects like the people around me, the animals, the environment, like everything is interconnected. And walking around with this supremacist idea that everything I do is right and I have the right idea is so unhealthy and so self-centered and self-righteous. It's just a very indignant way to live your life, and that's not very diverse. And we've learned that when we have inclusivity and equality, that's when we have true growth of people. What we see now is truly stagnant. Religion is stagnant, it's disease ridden, it is just filled with hateful people who think that they have everything right and are so inexperienced to what other people live in their life, lacking that empathy. They continue to, and I've lived it. I'm speaking on experience, right? Like I've lived that. Sorry.
I'm going to tie it in with that, Ryan. I have to keep in mind that religion has done nothing but exploit people for their needs of fitting into government agenda. And they don't care at all about us as individuals. It's just that we think they do. See, we're the ones that bring that narrative. We're saying, this is good for me. This will allow me to get closer to God. Well, nothing can be further from the truth. So until we shed that notion, we're going to continue to have that dissonance. And we're going to be so messed up with our thinking. We're not going to be able to think freely. We need to disconnect ourselves from that myth. The myth, it's a myth that religion cares about people's needs. It cares about government's needs. It just tricks us to think it cares about us.
Yeah,
I agree.
that was a comment that I liked in here a few back. Jay commented and said, one thing I haven't tried telling someone is that they are a victim of the religion. Which I mean, I haven't tried that either, but it's a good point.
I was thinking.
Oh, the witnesses are at the door.
Try that other door.
Door number 3, please.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, as far as like comfort and that sort of thing, I put the Discord link there. So if you would like to join our Discord, if you are not already, we're there to kind of be there for each other and to talk about things like this, and just having someone to say, hey, what's up? How's it going today? Because it's important. We lost that resource, that support system that got left behind with the organization, and so we have to create our own. And you're welcome to join as long as you're peaceable and a good person and all that stuff.
I really appreciate you doing that, Jay.
So we're at about an hour and a half now. So I think maybe we could give some closing thoughts and that sort of thing, just to keep this a reasonable length. What do you think?
Sure.
Sí, señor.
Yeah.
See.
I guess we talked about today.
It's like, I want an American
service is ending. We're just going to go take a break for a few hours at the donut shop.
That's right.
Do now.
Yeah.
Still counting the time.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, for sure.
And you answer it in any ways that you want to yourselves or whatever. But where do you want to be next week? Where do you want to be next month, next year, next 10 years? Where do you want to be? It's all about you.
Bahamas.
It truly is. It's all about you.
That is true.
Our control.
Shut it down.
Nice job, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Closing remarks. What do I have to say?
We count our time at the donut shop.
That's right. I think we should, just you do 45 minutes to an hour, and then you leave one of those little tracks on the
Then it
table
counts.
for somebody to clean up, and there you go. Your time's counted.
Yep.
This is also, sorry, not related. This is going backwards a little bit. My dad was also saying they're not reporting field service time anymore as a positive thing. He was like, we're just moving forward. We don't even care about reporting time anymore. Like, and I was like, cool. Like,
Wow.
they made up rule for so many years and now they're not standing by anymore. What is that
Right.
supposed to
You know, there's going to
I
be such a
imagine-
disconnect.
That's crazy.
There's going to be such a disconnect between what the previous generation of witnesses did and the present that they're not
Yeah.
even going to be able to understand what they're talking about.
That's true. We're kind of in the middle because I feel like in my lifetime is where the internet becoming a thing and the governing body becoming like celebrities. That's like a changing point of it, and we saw that happen. But
Yeah, that was
any-
wild.
yeah,
Hey, this is totally off the subject, but I just thought of it. One of the friends in North Carolina was looking for the interlinear, the Greek, what is it called?
Greek
The
interlinear.
Greek interlinear, and they thought they had theirs, but they lost track of it. And we have one. Guess how much they want for them online?
Oh dear, how much?
$100.
Damn.
Yeah. So if you got any, hang on to them. They're worth money.
Wowsies. Interesting.
Sell it.
Well, I want to know about a civil suit. So y'all just chew on that. I want to know if there's a possibility of any kind of civil suit for their,
Lawyer.
you know,
Need a lawyer.
change. Yeah, well, they're, you know, and they're changing their time requirements, and like we were, like had to do that as kids, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that should be a
Oh,
possibility,
we also,
but I'm just not.
Here's another little fact. One of the PMO 75-year-old, their granddaughters went to an assembly at the Stanley last weekend, and there was a 5-year-old that got baptized. 5
5. Oh my goodness.
5 years old.
No
I thought that was
way.
banned.
That's ridiculous.
5 years old.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
They're desperate. They're desperate. The only ones
That
that
is
are coming in,
absolutely
they're-
disgusting.
The only ones that are getting baptized are their own people.
Wow.
One-
Yeah.
Children, babies.
And then
blows my
one
mind.
kid in school is going to tell her that this religion is whack, and she's going to wake up and they're going to shun her too. That's 5-6 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 years
Possibly
old.
get her to leave the house, find a foster home.
that's horrible. That's so horrible.
Mm.
My daughter is 5, and all she does is play in the sand. Like-
There's
And my 6-year-old stepson, I picked him up from school one day, and he says, "Daddy, Grandpa says you're a piece of shit."
oh,
Oh,
geez.
dear.
And
Wow.
mind you, my father-in-law
What?
is a pioneer, so he's teaching my
I'm
kids
sorry.
that
Why don't you sample?
God, of the devil. It's crazy.
So, MJ,
I'm sorry,
what would
man.
Jesus do?
Yep. What would Jesus do?
What would
I told
Jesus
him that one time.
Yep.
Can you believe I told him that?
Yep.
And his wife is like, she seems like she's starting to wake up. Sorry, I got this thing on my lip. Sorry if it's annoying. And because she noticed how calm and collective I was talking to him, and he was punching the wall, he's punching the table because I'm trying to teach him. I was talking to him about 1914, which is a great example. It's not working. And I told him, what would Jesus do? And he tells me, you don't talk to me about Jesus. I know more than Jesus. I'm like, what if he was here right now? He's like, I'll tell him off too, because I know more than him. I'm like, are
What?
you kidding me?
There's
Wow.
there's a principle of warfare that says if your enemy is making mistakes, don't ever get in their way.
Yeah.
Right. Let them have at it.
This goes to show that's how much they're imprinting Jehovah
Yeah.
inside your brain. It's Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. They're starting to forget Jesus. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think Joe and Fran, like what you said, like I remember growing up that and I know this is supposed to be closing remarks. Maybe I could make it into a closing remark, but I know
Bonus
that
material.
I remember as a Jehovah's Witness child being told that we worshipped Yahweh in a manner, well, Jehovah, excuse me, whatever, in a manner that was similar to the Israelites. Like we knew more than them. We were doing the Bible right. So we were kind of them, which is why Jehovah's Witnesses put themselves into that 144,000 number, which is the tribes of Israel, which are Jewish people, not Goyim or whatever you want to call it. So, we're transposing ourselves into their position. So I think that kind of touches on how they see themselves as better than Jewish people, basically.
Super Jews.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's really how they see themselves. So that's why I kind of want to go down this rabbit hole, because it's kind of a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
Maybe they were similar. I could just imagine on the wagon to a Jewish family going to the temple, and the parent looks down, Yeshua, you were supposed to study your scrolls before we left for temple. Why are you underlining on the trip to the
Do you have a call to God prepared? Do you have an incantation prepared? Are you ready to go?
So
Jesus sent the out, and they're like, "Can we take a break? I'm really thirsty."
Yep. Let's go to the well.
Well, this was
So
really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, this is good.
Thank you for
yes, I want to thank everybody for coming to this. I want to thank everybody who's been watching for coming to this. Again, if you have any resources that you want to share, I would be happy to put that in this video so that people can reference it in the future. Also, something that I forgot to mention, there's a member in our Discord that hi.
Perfect timing.
Go back upstairs, James.
The kids are getting restless.
Yeah, I guess that's my cue. Hello, James.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, James.
So
Happy
if
belated-
there's
happy belated birthday.
I'm going to talk to the other child who's supposed to be watching James right now. Anyway, so a person in our Discord had compiled a list of members of parliament in Canada that they could talk to. So basically to their legislators. So that's something that I think Ryan and I will talk with that person and maybe do a separate video on that sometime soon. But, any resources that we can provide for people that they can use, either just to for their mental health, for, talking to people, references, that sort of thing. It's all helpful that we could. He's trying to play the piano.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the hook to get you off the stage in the form of a child. Wait, am I?
I feel we should work on the equivalent.
Would you say, Kenzie? Sorry, you cut out a little.
Compiling a list for U.S. representatives.
Hello?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We really should. We need to.
So Ben,
I wonder if there's already like people doing that somewhere. Like if there's already these kind of lists or whatever. Maybe just even if we just have like we can hear you. Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah, you touched the mic and it's wrecked the thing.
We can hear you, Jonathan. Can you hear us?
It's okay.
I don't know if he can hear us.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm out, so
we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
He can't hear us. Well, yeah, what we need to look into that. I think one of the things that we really could do is be a little more organized, or at least try to align ourselves with the people who are organized and already have some of these lists and things go. Yeah. Like if we could just communicate better, that would probably be helpful, because there might already be these lists, and if we just maybe even just had a website that had them compiled for us and whatnot would be great. So
yeah, let me know what to do.
We will do that.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess, Jonathan, that I will take us out. Do you guys want to tell us where we can find you before we go? Like where on social media you can be found?
Where are we?
Where are we?
Where are we, honey?
We are social media, Joan Fran Garino at gmail.com. We're on the Outside Story
Yeah.
with Rick Fearon.
That's
Facebook, Fran
We
Garino.
don't have any YouTube.
No, we don't have YouTube.
You guys
Okay.
that's pretty good.
Oh, the cord.
It was the plug. That's why. There we go. It's the cord, missing cord. And what about you, Kenzie? Where can we find you on your social media?
I mainly do my activism through TikTok. I do also have a website called Apostate Collective where people can share their stories. And then I have a matching Apostate Collective is on Instagram too. So I have Instagram, TikTok, and then a website.
Awesome. And actually, later we can add you. I think we probably
Right.
can hear you now, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was fun.
Okay. Well, at least you figured it out.
Yes.
So
thank you.
after the show, we'll have to make sure we get all your links and we will put them in the description and everything so people can just click it, whatnot. So make sure you pass them over to Jonathan or myself so that way we can add them. And what about you,
Yes.
MJ? Where can we all find you?
So you can find me on YouTube. My name is right there, right below me. It's XJWMJ. That's it for YouTube. You can find me on that. And I'm also on TikTok where I kind of dive deep more into like my personal life, or I'm kind of trying to. It's called XJWMJ in context because, as a witness, we love to always hear that word context. That's what they love to say. So yeah, but if it since it's too long, you can find my TikTok title or URL in my YouTube channel in my bio. So check it out there.
Awesome. Be sure to send those links to us so we can put them in there.
Yes, please.
Jonathan, you want to tell us where we can find you?
Yes. You can find me on my channel X Witness Awake. All my socials are just X Witness Awake, so I try to keep it simple. I'm on Reddit a little bit. I technically have an X or whatever you call it now, Twitter. I don't really use it, but I am on Instagram and also on TikTok mostly.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And I am Ryan Caltastic, just like you see below. So you can find that on YouTube. On TikTok, I'm a Sandwich. And on Twitter, I am a not Yahoo. Don't worry, we'll get the links, so you'll figure it out. You'll be able to find us. Yeah, that's all.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you everybody for watching.
Yeah.
We are really cool and funny people. All apostates are cool and funny people.
Says
and
you.
loving. Yes, says me. So don't fear us. Don't be scared. Tell the world.
Yeah.
We're not
We're
scared.
normal
Don't feel the
people.
reaper.
Don't fear the apostate.
We're loving people. We're more loving than what they think.
We actually have more
Indeed.
empathy and compassion than you would ever even realize was capable. You might realize that you could be learning some lessons from us. We're normal everyday people, and we just want to help. We're here. When you're ready, we're here anyway.
Yes.
Definitely.
Love you all.
Love you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I speak Spanish
Thanks,
as
you
well,
guys.
in case anybody needs to.
Oh yeah. So any Spanish references.
Sí,
That's good.
señor. Yo hablo español.
Oh, gracias. That's
Oh,
very
great.
helpful.
Yeah.
Necesito mucho practicar.
Sí, señor.
Sí.
Lo veo.
Yo también. Tampoco?
All right.
No, también.
All righty.
You want to
Bye.
send us on our way? Bye, everybody.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share if you are watching this after the
Yes.
fact. Leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. If you have any sources that you think would be helpful to our friends here, then please leave them in the comments, or again, you can join our Discord and join the community and maybe help us organize our asses, because we know we are intentionally, because of how we were taught, a little bit maybe behind on that, but we're getting there. We are getting there. We are breaking through. We are using our voices, and we are stronger together. Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
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 Life can bring us down, but turn it around. Life can bring us down, but turn it around.